beautiful Finger Lakes area of upstate New York and Watkins Glen International Raceway. Steeped in history and tradition, that's where we are for round 6 of the Rolex Sports Car Series. The Sahlens, 6 Hours of the Glen. I love this racetrack. It's very challenging, Dorsey. We talked about that right now. We've got some onboards for you, like we always do. But what we don't have right now is the weather that we need them to show you those onboard shots. We've got a low ceiling right now. The helicopter can't get up. Hopefully, as the weather clears up this afternoon, we'll bring you some great speed shots from around Watkins Glen. Well, there are definitely going to be some keys to winning the race here today. You know, we talked about the challenges of this racetrack, the driver lineups and such. So let's look at the keys to the race that we've got today. The weather. We don't know if it's going to rain or not, and it's hot, Dorsey.
And here, traditionally, it does rain and then it gets dry. That's hard. Driver lineup, 2 drivers or 3 drivers. That could be a big important factor if it gets around 90 with that humidity up there.
Tires. We've got a new tire construction for these guys. It's an unknown. The guys are going to have to conserve them.
Well, one more corner and it's all behind us. It's going to start.
Now, don't forget that for the fans at home, we run split starts here in the Rolex Sports Car Series. The Daytona prototypes will take the green flag first, and then some 20 seconds back, the GT class will take the green. Right now, Daytona prototypes on the front straightaway looking for green, and there we go.
Now watch this big flare down into turn 1. They can get off the outside now and not pay a penalty. I think it's going to be aggressive.
Look at Angelelli on the brakes, the car twitching. Pruitt up the inside. Johansson falls back to third. Cleanly through turn 1. No one had to use that extra bit of asphalt. And these guys know it's 6 hours, Dorsey. This is not the time to attack.
Absolutely right. And smartly, they're all single file going up the hill. You don't want to be side by side going up that hill because you might have to lift. And lifting while you're going uphill takes a lot of momentum away.
Just got a report from race control that Matteo Bobbi in the 77 car jumped the start. We'll have to see what they do about that. In the meantime, it has no effect on Wayne Taylor as he continues to lead. These guys safely through the inner loop. There's the pace car leading the GT field around. They'll be coming for their own separate green like we talked about. Andy Lally on the pole. David Murray outside of him in the 80 Synergy Porsche, and they're green.
And once again, 4 to 5 wide is the norm. In fact, it might be more than that. They're just going to fill up the racetrack.
Look at the flare heading down into turn 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I saw 5 wide at least. Lally holds on to the lead as they go through turn 1.
2 guys outside the rumble strips there. I'll get back on cleanly. No fines to pay there. It would have been last year.
These guys working their way up through the S's onto the back straightaways.
Corvette there got really wide. And we got a smoker at the back of that pack. I think an engine expiring. Well, either that or a leak of some sort at the back end of the GT field.
55 Corvette driven by Johnny Miller, Jason Workman, and Zach Arnold. Saw them a little bit offline as they came through there, and there's a good look at the 16 BMW, the PTG car of Tom Milner, Justin Marks, and Valentine.
Car going straight didn't make the chicane. Also, Brian, I was noticing that the guys that watch up there all the time, that they're using the curbs a lot. They've had to shave those curbs down too for the impending IRL race. So guys have already figured out they can use the curbs. Stop and go penalty being assessed for the 77s on pit lane.
The boys have had bad luck. They have qualified well in several races. We also hear now that the 88 also jumped the start. That the 88 GT car of Robert Nern, one of the TRG machines in GT.
So obviously both these, well, there's a car coming in. I don't know, it didn't jump the start. That's a flat tire on that 8 car back there. Chris?
Yeah, Doris, Bert Purcell bringing the 8 into pit lane, looking around for some contact on this right rear. Doesn't look like it, so they just had this right rear cut down early in this race. you know, it shouldn't really hurt these guys too bad. I can't imagine them losing a lap here, and we've also got 6 hours to go.
You know, Chris, yesterday, we were in a race yesterday, and right at the end of the race, there was a big old wreck there. I wonder if he did run over something.
I was going to point out to people, we did have a Grand Am Cup race here yesterday, Dorsey, and it was a doozy. You'll be able to watch that on speed on a tape-delayed basis, but we had a lot of action, i.e. a lot of crashes in that race. So I would imagine a lot of carbon fiber splinters around on the racetrack.
Well, a lot of cars in the pits already. I don't know what's going on with all that. We'll find out.
That's the 36 of Randy Popst. That car had actually qualified on the pole in GT, but was sent to the back of the pack.
And look over here. The body fit is not too good. I think he's made contact with someone. Oh, there's a smoker right there. It was one of the Pontiac GTO. These are the lead cars about to catch this car. I don't know if it's leaking oil or not. Calvin?
Well, Randy Post sits behind the wheel. Randy, what is the problem?
Oh my goodness, Calvin. Well, we had pole, but we had to move to the back because of a slight ride height infraction. And I let the slow guys fool me. One of them braked up for no reason in the middle of the S's, and I just bumped him and I broke a radiator. I apologize to the Agilon TPC team. It's going to be a long day.
A long day indeed. The team are trying to regroup here and get Randy back on course.
Well, that, of course, was the car that I saw, the 23 coming in with a flat right rear. That was the car I saw at the start, Brian, that I saw some smoke coming out of it. It was actually radiator fluid coming out.
I wonder if that is the car
that he hit.
Chris Zakaris behind the wheel of that Horizon Motorsports number 23 Pontiac GTO. That team, one of the little teams out here that does a good job on a regular basis. They have run very well, especially the last few events, but they just can't seem to get the luck to get the car to the end.
And you see how slow he's going to try to keep that tire from killing the bodywork.
A good look at Max Angelelli as he leads the first time he has led the first lap in a Rolex sports car event this season. We'll see if he can hang on for another 5+ hours when we come back. Region of upstate New York, Watkins Glen International Raceway. From the first 6-hour race in 1968 when Jackie Hicks and Lucien Bianchi won, it is now the Sahlen 6 hours of the Glen. The Grand American Rolex Sports Car Series live from Watkins Glen International. Round 6 for these guys. You see the fans sitting, we're under full course yellow. Let's take a look and see what's happened so far today, Dorsey. From the drop of the green, pole sitter Max Angelelli took his number 10 Pontiac Riley, the SunTrust machine, to the lead down into turn 1. But it didn't take long before we had our first penalty.
Mateo Bobby with the 77 jumped that start, gets a stop and go as a result.
Other problems, Jorge Getters in the number 5 car. His first Daytona prototype start, problems with the right rear wheel. They were not fixed in pit lane.
No, and watch this wheel, folks, because Butch Leitzinger's about to do the dodge of the day on the wheel bar here. And first car's by cleanly, no problem. Look out, Butch. Whoa, that's close.
That was wheelie close. Yeah. Sorry about that, I had to say it. Angelelli continued to lead in the number 10 SunTrust car over Scott Pruitt, then Stefan Johansson in the 19 machine. But look at this battle. Kellners tries to go inside Borkowski.
It's Borkowski. Kellners with the damage on the car.
Borkowski obviously had problems too. The very next lap goes off in the inner loop, fills the radiator with dirt. He had to come to pit road.
Here we have our first stop for the 10 car coming in, doing some routine pit stop. And look right behind him, Scott Pruitt beats him out of the pits, takes over the lead.
SunTrust decided to go with a driver change. Pruitt decided to do a double. And on the restart, Scott Pruitt in the 01 Comp USA machine took the lead for the first time today. But look at the charge by Butch Leitzinger.
Right here is Robin Liddell coming inside. It's a GT pass for the lead right there. Robin Liddell in the 74 over Wolf Hensler.
Great battles throughout GT, but Scott Pruitt continued to lead in his 01 Comp USA machine.
Then trouble for the 58 Brumos Porsche as engine woes bring it to the pits and behind the wall.
Tough luck for those guys, but the battles continued throughout as Robin Liddell took over the lead, but then had to go straight in the inner loop.
Waving at someone in there, just didn't get her stopped, I guess.
And then problems for the number 80 machine. That's your GT Championship point leader. Craig Stanton behind the wheel and off in turn 10 and stuck in the ground, Dorsey. That is not where you want to be.
And that brings us to now where we're under the yellow as a result of that.
And this is where we are right now. in the Daytona prototype class. Luis Diaz did that driver change with Scott Pruitt. He leads over the 39, Marcel Tiemann. A great job for him, and only his second Daytona prototype start. Then the number 4, Elliott Forbes Robinson. Max Angelelli back in the 10. George Bergmeister back in the number 66. Your top 5 in Daytona prototype class. As you look at GT, Jim Chaffel in the number 73 Porsche leads, then Kelly Collins, Tom Milner, Lee Keen in the number 14 Porsche. What a great job that group is doing today. And then Jeff Siegel in the Maserati sharing that ride with Joao Barbosa running in the top 5. A good run for the Maserati boys out of Washington. The Sahlen 6 hours of the Glen. You see the leader right there, Max Angelelli. Some great fights all around this racetrack, trying to put yet another lap on the number 3 of Shane Lewis. We've seen battles all around this racetrack under very, very difficult conditions, Dorsey.
And looking back right behind that group right there is Luis Diaz in the 0-1, who has found his rhythm now. We talked about him coming up to speed. There he is, not too far back from Guy Smith in the 39.
It's Angelelli, then Guy Smith, then Luis Diaz, then the number 66 car with Jörg Bergmeister behind the wheel, and then the 02 of Stefan Johansson. That's the top 5 in Daytona prototypes right now. And like you said, Dorsey, it looks like Luis Diaz, who had not spent a lot of time in the car over the last couple of days, and this is his first stint, seems to be finding the rhythm.
Yeah, he's moved up. You know, oh, they've got a crash going on. The 23 is just augured into the turn 6 barrier.
That's the 23 Horizon Motorsports GTO. Mike Weinberg behind the wheel. They had tire problems earlier, you'll remember.
Mike got loose coming down out of 5, almost on the way to 6. And on that downhill incline like that, it's really hard to gather the car up because it's very unsettled. We saw him at the same time, and both of us knew where he was going, didn't we?
Yeah.
It's like,
and you know what? Mike knew where he was going
Mike
as
knew
well,
he was going there
which is unfortunate. You know, they had problems at Mont Tremblant. Untimely yellow came out. The wrecker was out on the racetrack, came over turn 1 to a blind hill, and actually made contact with the wrecker.
For Shane Lewis right here, he can't let the 10 by. The start-finish line's right up ahead. The yellow's going to come out. He's going to make up. There it is.
There's the yellow.
Now, as long as he gets back to start-finish in front of the 10, he makes up that lap. And he does as the 10's coming in.
Great call, Dorsey. Great call. It looks like he's going to be able to stay out. He'll make his lap back up. You see the 23 car there still in the wall. That'll be our 4th caution. The leaders have made it to pit road. Max Angelelli has come to pit road, as well as the 02 car of Stefan Johansson. Both of these cars have a long, long drive. They're both pitted at the far end of pit lane, and they'll roll into their stops at the same time, and Calvin is there.
Max Angelelli will be staying in. He's only done about half a stint, so this is anticipated. They're just trying to really play the strategy out. We talked earlier about whether the fuel strategy would play a part today. Well, we've got about 3 hours and 10 minutes left in this one, so it's getting closer. A little bit of yellow, maybe just 2 starts to get it to the rest of the distance. Let's go down to Chris Neville.
Hey, Cal, Elliott Forbes Robinson just brought the number 4 of the Howard Foss machine into pit lane, and he's getting fuel and tires. I peeked in the window and asked Elliott how everything was. He looked a little bit hot, but he gave me the big thumbs up, so he's going to go out and do a double stint right now. This old man's just bulletproof.
Hey, Chris, did he take a drink bottle at all?
No, he didn't want that weight in the car.
That's the way he is. He just drinks up, he hydrates himself before he gets in, and then he just goes for it.
But you know what? You can't sit in 120 degree, 130 degree temperature for an hour and a half and say I've hydrated enough. You will sweat all that out. It's got to go back in.
You know what I did? I used to take the bottle, I'd drink half of it as quick as I could and dump the other half on me, you know, just to get that little relief.
Chris, what do you have from the 4 pit?
Well, I just found Butch Leitzinger. Butch, you got out just a little while ago and you headed off to the motorhome. You did a double stint early on. How'd you feel after that double?
Fortunately, it wasn't that bad. The car isn't perfect, but it's not too evil either. So the workload's kind of light. You're not having to saw the wheel a whole lot to survive. So actually, it wasn't that bad. We could probably do a little bit more than a double. I don't know if I'd want a triple, but like 2.5 might be doable to get to the end of the race.
Dorsey was just talking about how Elliott doesn't take any water in the car, and in this past stop, nobody handed him a water. Is he gonna be all right? Should he have taken that water?
I don't know what it is about Elliott, but he won't drink water. And I mean, I did the Sebring 12 hours with him one time when it was blisteringly hot out, and I was going through gallons of water and just I mean, just completely wiped out. And he wouldn't touch water the whole time and got out of the car like a spring chicken each time. So he's not human. I don't know what he is, but he's not human.
Hey, you've also got some really big new news. Anybody you want to say hello to at home?
Oh, well, thank you very much. Yeah, actually, my wife and I adopted a beautiful young girl named Anime, and I don't think she can hear this, but I'll say hi to Anime anyway. Thank you.
Big congrats to the Leitzinger family.
Quite an addition. That's the 4th grandchild for Bob Leitzinger. Mike Weinberg out of the number 23 Horizon Motorsports GTO. Good to see him out. And there's a good look at the 2 car. Let's see what happened to Jan just a couple of minutes ago. On board, into the inner loop. Let's listen.
Really clouting the curve when he crashes across the top of the turbs there.
You said the guys use the curbs, but you got to wonder if that's not going to really punish the car.
Well, it does punish the car, Brian. You're right. 6 hours is a long time, but they cut those turbs down right there. 66 is in. Calvin's there.
Georg Bergmeister going to be staying behind the wheel. I just checked in with the team manager, Mike Johnson, for the Krone Racing TRG boys, and he said the plan was to do singles for the first 2 stints and then double the guys the rest of the way. So you're going to be staying in, and then they'll turn it over to Christian Fittipaldi, hopefully, to take it to the checkered flag this afternoon. Mike did mention with this high humidity, they're really losing a lot of power, and the drivers are saying they're struggling a bit more in traffic than they typically do. So the tires have been changed, the fuel is in, they're cleaning the windshield, but most importantly, they're changing that ice box over on the right side of the cockpit there to try and keep this driver cool in these very hot and humid conditions, Brian.
It is definitely hot, Calvin, and I'm telling you, that's going to be a factor. Back on board the 2 car.
Take a look right here. You see that little nozzle out the front of his helmet? That's Jan Lammers, and there's nothing connected to it. That is his drink tube, where you push the button on the steering wheel right here, and it gives you a drink of water. But there's nothing. Hi, Jan. How we doing, buddy? I could actually talk to him.
Yeah, he knows you're drawing lines all over him. That's amazing that he, too, has not decided to take, a drink bottle with him. Chris, what have you got on the 2?
Well, Brian, I was anticipating that the 2 would be to pit lane right now, too, with the 4, because they came in together last time when they said that they thought they had some fuel pickup problems. But checked in with Max Crawford. He said everything is good right now. They think the problem has sorted itself out. So I'm once again starting to think that Max Crawford isn't telling us the whole story, just like back at Mont Tremblant.
Well, those problems typically don't just, quote, sort themselves out. When you've got a problem with a fuel system like that, and you're not picking up all the fuel, they don't just suddenly get better, do they, Dorsey?
Never. I don't know what he's up to.
Well, under caution for the 4th time today. Pace car back out the race. We'll take a look and see.
Weinberg loose at the bottom. Car starts swerving, runs out of room, and the barrier stops him.
And I think he was doing the right thing. He was up a little bit high. Look at him. He sees the prototypes coming behind him. He's probably up just a little bit high. He's going to let those guys go. But when you get out there in the marbles and it all goes bad, and it has definitely gone bad for Mike Weinberg and the boys over at Horizon Motorsports. Well, you see the families and the campers out, everybody enjoying Rolex sports car action from the Sahlen 6 Hours of the Glen. There's a good look at your leaderboard, both DP and GT. Stay with us. We'll be back. Bergmeister continues to lead in the number 66 Daytona prototype, but he has been warned by the officials about blocking for 2 laps in a row over the 01 car, Dorsey, which the 01 has dropped back considerably, and I'm a little bit confused about the blocking because we certainly have seen it from other cars today.
What I'm hearing is that he made more than one move. In other words, he was going to block Luis Diaz. Let's say it's a right-hand corner coming up. He moves over to the right. Luis goes, Luis in trouble. He's off the road, and it's raining hard. And it's been hit by the 58. Takes off the right rear. The 01 in big trouble, 58. And this is not going to be the end of it. They got to move those cars or get a caution out.
No, the rain is coming. I can look out the announce booth window back to that area of the racetrack, and you can see that the rain is coming down hard on the far end of the circuit right there. What we call the boot of the boot.
I told you it wasn't going to stop. That's the Bingham car, the 15. It's soaking wet down in that hole, and if you don't know it,
58 car with David Donahue behind the wheel right now will not get out of there. Has significant damage to the back end of his machine. The 01 car.
21 in trouble. It's got left front damage as well.
on
off the
board.
racetrack. And it looks like left front suspension damage on the 01.
Bill Auberlin in that car right now. I couldn't tell if it was damaged, Dorsey, or if it's just bouncing
around
through the grass.
Well, I don't know, Brian, but it's surprising to me that I don't see cautions everywhere.
It's dry right now. There is a full course caution being shown at the start-finish line.
The 01 that got clobbered by the 58 drove out of that situation. We don't know where it is right now. Here's the 58 not going anywhere. That's the 15 trying to get back going. That car not hurt.
If I were David, I think I'd stand back on the back side of the wall because there are more cars out there. We saw this last year in the shorter race at Watkins Glen. A sudden downpour, the 01 car on pit road. We know he made contact. We saw a sudden downpour in turn 10 take out about 6 or 8 cars. So it's just the weather systems that you get here. The 01 car rolling down to his pits right now, and Calvin Fish is there.
Well, Luis Diaz finally makes his way in here. He struggled to find his pit box there. A lot of damage to this right rear corner, as you can see. The spoilers turn up, the rear bodywork. The key is going to be suspension damage. The exhaust is certainly tweaked a little bit. So Luis is out of the car. He's walking over the wall and looking at the rear end of the car to see what the damage is. Right now, I see they're going back to slick tires, so this is a brave call. They expect the experience of Scott Pruitt to be able to handle these conditions, even under slicks. So that is the call. I don't see the mechanics too concerned with suspension damage. They're just trying to trim away some of this loose bodywork so it doesn't create any more shards on the racetrack, create problems for other guys out there. This is probably going to take a couple of minutes here, but they should be able to keep Scott Pruitt on the lead lap, get him back out there, see if they can recover and stay in this championship chase.
Everybody heading to pit road to get rain tires. Jörg Bergmeister heads to his stall. He'll be taking on rain tires, and Calvin is there.
Christian Fittipaldi, as we mentioned earlier, has been itching to get behind the wheel. He's renowned as one of the best wet weather drivers in the world. Right behind us, the 02 is coming in. That's Kurt Wagner behind the wheel of the second Chip Ganassi car. So I spoke to Christian Fittipaldi about these cars in the rain conditions, and he said they're a bit of a handful. This hugely wet is really not ideal, but that's the same for everybody. So they have to get out there and deal with these conditions, and visibility will once again be a factor here today. Let's go down to Chris.
Cal, down here with Butch Leitzinger in the Ford, they are throwing wet on this car. So Butch is going to get back out there and be on those wet weather tires. And remember how good Butch did at Barber last year in the rain. So they didn't have a chance to really do well at Mont Tremblant with that early hit that Elliott had in the rain. But I imagine we're going to see Butch probably make a good run to the front here.
Well, they call rain the great equalizer, Dorsey, and these conditions, as you well know, are so difficult because you've been running for the last 4 hours in the dry, and now all of a sudden, after all the oil is laid down, the kitty litter gets put on top of it, the oil dry as they call it. Now we're going to add water to it, and lots of water, by looking at the back straightaway.
And of course, until they get back under green flag conditions and they get all the oil that's now coming to the surface off of the racetrack, it's going to be treacherous conditions for the first guys around here. We've seen it here so many times in the 6 Hours of Glen. The history going back, always it seems that we have the same condition here at the Glen, a rain shower followed by drying. You know, it happened when I raced, that's for sure.
Well, the other thing that the teams have not been able to do is any kind of a rain setup. It's just throw rain tires at it and go. Typically, you like to soften up the car. No opportunity to do that. Most of the race has been run in the dry, and look at the damage to the 37 car.
Right front damage, of course, it was right into the door of the 30.
The 01 car is back in. Calvin?
Well, this is simply a question of getting Scott Pruitt on the rain tires. They sent him back on slicks. He did a couple of laps, and they just have the experience. They're being very patient here. There's no need to panic. Scott, just keep the car on the racetrack, see if this rain is going to stay with us. And now they obviously believe that the conditions are too bad if we go back to green here shortly to keep Scott on the slick tires. This team can regroup. He'll lose a little bit of downforce from the back end of the car. They may need to make an adjustment for that. The slicks are on, he's back. The wets are on, he's back underway.
Well, with a little over an hour and a half left, you know that everybody's going to have to make one more stop. I'm sure everybody also took fuel on those rounds of stop, took the opportunity to top themselves off. So with a little over an hour and a half, things have changed considerably here at Watkins Glen. The rain is coming down, the complexion has changed, but stick with us, the battle will continue.
comes, fanning out for turn one. There's going to be a lot of spray in the air.
A lot of spray as they head down to turn one. Nick Janssen right now in the 67, and Janssen gets the best of McDowell in the 19 car. Side by side they go through one, but Janssen down on the slick. Oh, and a spin.
I don't know if they touch or not, but McDowell's gone around, no question about that. TRG cars 1-2.
McDowell looks like he re-enters safely, but a lot of spray in the air. Now TRG cars, like you said, Dorsey, 1-2. We'll have to see if there was contact there. Those cars very close as they went through the apex of turn one.
Kevin Buckler's going to be going crazy right now with these cars running like they are, I tell you that much. Yet to win, put this great, fantastic team together. Good drivers, good team.
And you got to give it to Nick Janssen and especially Tracy Crone. Tracy with not a lot of experience, and he has jumped into the deep end, and Janssen with a big slide through the inner loop. But Tracy Crone really jumped into the deep end. You'll have to pardon the pun with all the rain falling down here, but he has done a tremendous job. Nick Janssen, obviously a very experienced driver, but Tracy Crone really holding up his end of the bargain. Let's take a look at this again, Dorsey.
Watch down into turn one. We got to see if they're going to hit. The 67 definitely got the good jump up the inside. 19's going to turn in right here. Watch, see if they touch. Well, it's hard to say that they did.
Calvin.
Here with Tracy Crone. Tracy, what a day for you guys. You got the team running first and second. You had your first laps in the wet in a DP car this afternoon. A lot to take in, I'm sure.
It's been a hell of a day. Actually, started off with not having radio communications, and then the cooler box came loose, and every time I'd turn left or right, it hit me in the elbow. And every time I'd shift gears, it hit me in the elbow. Every time I'd brake, it hit me in the elbow. So I was getting punished the whole time. And then I got out of the car, and Nick was having communications problems as well. I think the New Century car is having communications problems as well. And then the power steering started to go out. So I got all bandaged up for the power steering, and it ended up, we thought we were going to go low on fuel, but it ended up with a yellow flag, so it looks like we're real close. Nick had the quickest lap in the rain by 3 seconds.
Okay, well, we'll see. Pace is there, certainly. They don't need communications now. They know the checkered flag is imminent. Those boys are going to go racing.
Well, Calvin, that was my question to you, and maybe you can ask Tracy if he's still there. Will he let them go racing in the last few minutes? Janssen is really pressing hard. Will he let them race each other?
Let's try and get a word in here with Kevin Buckler. Kevin is pumped up here on the flag stand. You got the boys running 1-2. Are you going to let them go racing, or are there any team orders today?
You know, there's no team orders. I just hope they're smart enough. I'd love them to finish just like they are now. I don't have any preferences, but we're really excited. So
we can tell.
Guy Scott Pruitt, out of nowhere, way back there in 7th place, has made it up to 3rd, and he has also decided to go racing.
Yes, Scott Pruitt definitely not holding anything back. He seemed to be out of the hunt for a while with that damaged race car, but maybe this rain and that long yellow has pumped some life back into that 01 Lexus Riley, because Pruitt on a tear right now.
Remember, they ran his wing up high at the back because he lost the rear downforce with that bodywork missing. So they put that wing up, and that could be enough for him to get more grip around here. We'll have to look at lap times. Right now, the first place car, Bergmeister, by far the quickest that lap.
Yeah, considerably faster than the other two cars, but Janssen not letting Bergmeister or Fittipaldi get away. But you see the car a little bit twitchy as Janssen tries to come off the corners, but there is the 01 car, the red and white machine with Scott Pruitt behind the wheel. He is really putting a charge on.
And remember, Fittipaldi is the only car with clean visibility. No car in front of him. Everybody else has got to eat the spray off these other cars. Fittipaldi can run clean and hard right now. That's what I'd be doing.
And Christian's on the radio going, you know, a 1-2 finish would be really good. He should really stay back there.
Yeah,
he shouldn't really get any closer right now. Let's make sure we finish 1-2, but guarantee you, don't forget who's in that 67 car. It's Nick Janssen and Tracy Crone. And what is Tracy Crone?
He's the owner of the team.
He owns the toys, doesn't he?
Yeah, my toy, I think I want to win. He did a great job today. I can't say enough for Tracy Crone. This is not conditions that you want to learn to drive under necessarily, and he is, by no doubt about it, learning how to drive these cars.
Absolutely. Pruitt getting everything he can out of his 01 machine. You saw the car really twitchy in the brake zone coming into turn 9. Watch him here through turn 10.
Now for Pruitt, if he can even see the tracks from the other two cars in front of him, he wants to put his wheels right where their wheels are. Just follow right down through the middle of that. Don't go into so uncharted territories.
Calvin, what's going on with 01?
Well, they say the car is not that good, even though Pruitt is on a charge and he's got up into a position to climb onto the podium this afternoon. The car is a bit of a handful, they're saying. The other problem he's having is visibility. We talked about it at Tremblant. Right now, Scott says, I can't see very well. How am I doing? They said, you're doing great. Just hang in there. And that rear wing change that they did was really anticipation of the track drying out for the rest of the afternoon. So if they had it to do again, in fact, they would not have put the extra downforce in the back of the car because they felt they would have a better balance in the wet conditions.
That's interesting, Calvin. So they really think that the added downforce in the rear is going to make the car not have the ability to turn, I suppose.
That's right, Dorsey. They say when you put wets on with a dry setup, what they started the race with, and you just throw the wet tires on, the car induces a big understeer, and they were hoping that broken bodywork would balance the car a little bit better. But when they made that change, they saw the sun, they thought it was going to dry out the final hour, and they needed some downforce in those conditions, which we never saw again.
Well, right now, Fittipaldi just about a half a second slower than Nick Janssen in the 67 car, and indeed Pruitt about a second off of the times that those guys are running, so he doesn't seem to have the machine underneath him. The fastest Daytona prototype on the racetrack right now, oddly enough, is Roberto Moreno in the 07 car, well back in the serial, back in 11th position, but he is almost a full second, actually is a full second faster even than Nick Janssen.
Brian, by my estimation, and I'm not that good with math, but I think if I got this worked out right, we're looking at 6 laps to go before this thing goes over with.
That would be about right, Dorsey. You're pretty good. You have a calculator over there.
I got it from Rick Radicek.
Rick Radicek, our booth guy up here, is actually the one who feeds us all of the good information. So he's the one that keeps us honest as you look at Fittipaldi there coming up on lap traffic now. And Dorsey, this could be the make or break thing, because some of these guys back out there in the slower cars are doing everything they can do just to hold on.
And you can never assume that they see you coming, because the rear windows fog up just like the front windows fog up. So when you catch a car and you're about to pass it, you don't know for sure if he knows that it's you that's coming by. Does that make any sense?
I understood it, which scares me, actually. The boys at Krone TRG, the best finishes they've had so far this year. The 66 finished 3rd at Homestead, and the 67 was 4th at Homestead. So they've run well so far. The GT leader,
he's winning, and he's 1-2 in DP and 1 in GT.
I'm going to this party tonight if this race finishes this way. Calvin?
Well, another man who's looking for that victory this afternoon is Mark Bunzy. You've got your teammate Andy Lally out there looking for a double win here at the Glen. Other than the header, any problems today?
No, it's been smooth run other than the header and getting caught out there in the heavy rain on the slicks, but fortunately made it back in time to get some rain tires on, and Andy's out there battling with the 14 car, so I think we got all the confidence in it. We're looking good, I think.
Okay, they're looking for their 2nd win this year in GT, and then they're waiting for that much anticipated debut of the Pontiac GTO at the next one.
Well, Kevin Buckler has put good teams on the racetrack for years, now partnered with Tracy Krone in the prototype effort. You can see that these guys have built a world-class organization here, both in the DP class and in the GT class. Kevin Buckler known for his GT efforts, and now he's showing the world that he can do it in prototypes too, as you look at Andy Lally leading in GT right now. But I tell you, the 14 car of Wolf Hensler is not going to let Lally get away, so stick around and make sure that you stay tuned, because Wolf Hensler is making the march on Andy Lally. We're going to have to take a short break, but don't worry. We'll make sure we don't miss anything for you. We'll be back to Watkins Glen and a rainy checkered flag when we come back right after this. Continues at Watkins Glen, and it was very close just moments ago. Only 4 laps to the finish, and the battle is between teammates. The 66 car driven by Christian Fittipaldi right now, and the 67 with Nick Janssen behind the wheel. Janssen had closed right up on the back of Fittipaldi, and it looked like he may be able to make the move, but he got really cut off. And here's the battle for GT, and Hensler takes it from Lally, but Lally's going to come back.
Coming up the inside, Lally's going to run up the inside into the S's, and I don't know if Wolf knows he's there. Whoa, that was good. It's getting close on both ends.
On both ends, so the boys at TRG may have just lost the win in GT, but some great racing going on as you look at the guys from Autometrics, the crew for the 14 car. Celebration there, but don't celebrate yet, boys. Another 3.5 laps around this racetrack. A lot of work to do.
Yeah, I'd say when you're running as hard as those guys are, the 2 team players up front got so close together. I'll tell you what, Nick Janssen was within inches of the back end, and it's here again. Here comes
Here we
Nick
go
Johnson.
again.
I had a race like this against my teammate who was Ron Fellows in Trans Am in the rain, and it's really putting it on the line when you run this close.
3 laps to go, and don't you think that if Mike Johnson watches this, watch this.
These are teammates. Now remember, they're not supposed to crash one another, but look at this. Nick doing the rim shot around the outside. Oh man, they touched right there.
I don't think Fittipaldi ever knew that was coming. A huge rim shot around the outside there, and don't you think that maybe Mike Johnson might be saying,
Johnson is taking the lead.
Took the lead.
Nick Johnson is in the lead.
Unbelievable stuff here from Watkins Glen. Teammates going at it tooth and nail. Johnson wants to give the win to Tracy Crone. For all that he has done for Nick Johnson, he has put him in the seat and given him this opportunity. Johnson wants to make the best of it. It would be the first Daytona prototype victory for the team and for Nick Johnson. For Tracy Crone, all of Crone TRG Racing. Let's see how it happened.
That was not a team call pullover either. I can tell you this. Look here, big slide. Johnson with a big run going up the inside, and I know Christian doesn't know he's there. Look, the wiggle under braking. He turns in and just sees it. That was not a team order at all. That is hardcore racing there, folks.
Almost got
the Corvette.
Corvette as they came through, and Johnson now has been able to pull out a bit of a gap over the car of Christian Fittipaldi.
Well, this is a special day for TRG for sure, but if it stays like that, that man, Tracy Crone on the left, and Kevin Buckler, the team owners, Crone did his share of driving today, did a great job, and might win his first.
And those guys smiling, but I guarantee you Kevin Buckler's insides are tied up in a knot thinking, guys, do not crash these race cars. I want a 1-2, and I really don't care which one of you is on the top step, but do not crash them. But some great battling going on between 2 very good race car drivers.
Only need a couple more circuits around here. That being said, it's easier said than done when it's like this.
Just a couple of laps left, but we've seen problems for all types of cars and all calibers of drivers today. Very difficult conditions, Dorsey, and like you said, 2 more laps, 2.5 more laps around this racetrack, anything can happen.
Absolutely anything could happen when you're fighting the elements like you are right here.
But look at the gap that Johnson has been able to pull out over
Fittipaldi. Who's this coming like mad?
That's Moreno in the 07 car. Really, as I said, the fastest prototype on the racetrack. 5 seconds a lap faster that time than Nick Johnson.
Unbelievable. Of course, not fighting for position, but running like mad.
Wolf Hensler in the 14 car leading GT. The boys at Autometrics once again, they are happy. Lee Keen and Corey Friedman doing a good job in that car all season long. But Wolf Hensler joins them for this race, and it looks like they may very well take the GT win. They've had a 5th place finish back at Homestead. Top 10 finishes the last 2 times out, I should say, with 9th place finishes, but to taste the champagne is going to be very, very sweet for the Autometrics guys, especially Lee Keen and Corey Friedman. Back up front, and man, Dorsey, visibility, it's not getting any better.
It's getting worse. No, it's definitely getting worse. Nick Johnson, there's a thumbs up from Kevin Buckler, one of the owners. He'll go right through the roof when this happens.
Well, if we work off time, our clock shows 2:46 left, and that would be another 2 laps.
Yeah.
They would be by the line, and there'd still be time on the clock, so we'll have to see what officials
falling back
say
badly.
about that way.
The 3rd place car's falling way back. That's Scott Pruitt, was right there looking like he was going to mount a charge, but he radioed in. The car's not good. There he is. He's under attack right now because that car, the 19, is made up 2 seconds right in that lap.
Did
That's
you see
McDowell.
the slide by McDowell up through the S's?
McDowell has run down Pruitt now. He knows that's him in front of him. He knows he can see the spray.
But he's got to run his pace. He has to
did
it again. He's got to run his pace. He's got to say, I caught him for a reason. I caught him because I'm faster. This is as fast as I can go. If I catch him and I get to him by the end and I can get by him, that's fine. Do not crash in the process. They need a good finish.
Yeah, they do need a good finish. He's right there. I mean, there's going to be enough time to catch Pruitt if he doesn't crash, and he's using it up.
Over the curve and on the paint again. That's what spun him out of the lead the first time. He needs to be calm in the car. That's what has allowed him to close in on Pruitt. Back up to the lead. Back with Nick Johnson. Calvin, you got some happy guys down there, bud.
They're happy, but they're nervous right now, Kevin. Just a couple of laps to go here. You've had your 2 lead cars touching each other, going for the lead. Nick has it right now. What do you say to him on the radio?
I'm not going to say anything right this minute. He's growing up in Sweden, probably really helped at these times, you know. These guys are awesome. Both of them are great drivers, great range drivers. I can't believe we're this far out front. I'm really, really proud of everybody on this team right now. It's awesome.
GT cars running pretty well, but Andy's in a tremendous battle with Hensler right now.
Yeah, we've been 1 and 2 for a while. Looks like we're going to finish second, but I mean, what else can I ask for? A 1, 2, and a 2. Podiums for everybody. It's fantastic.
All right, they're pumped up and they're just keeping their fingers crossed. Hopefully they can see it through now.
And Janssen is not giving up at all. He's faster than Fittipaldi right now by a considerable margin, but sliding around every corner, Dorsey.
Faster by anybody just about on the whole track. You run at 223, but that's what you need to do when you're in the rain. You're in your zone. You feel the race car under. You're winning the race. Don't back off. Don't change anything you're doing. There's the white flag. He's going to make one more time around this. Don't change anything now.
And Andy Lally doing the smart thing, racing Wolf Hensler hard, but saying, hey guys, we'll take that second place finish. They've struggled the last 2 races, a 13th at Tremblant and 18th at Laguna. So that has really hurt them after a 5th at the 24 and a win at Homestead. They'll take second place.
There's your second place car, 66. And the 01 is catching the 66, and the 19 is there too. Oh. Scott Pruitt just got bogged badly by that Porsche.
Oh, and the 19 is right there.
Oh, and he's in. What kind of maneuver is that up to the inside?
McDowell, a very interesting maneuver there.
Boy, oh boy, that didn't look like it was going to work. I guess it came out all right. He's got a better run on Pruitt. I don't know if Scott knows it. He's going to be vulnerable up here, and Scott is definitely catching.
McDowell loose again, touched the curb there, and the car really wiggled. He keeps his foot in the throttle. Pruitt probably can't see a thing in his
I don't
mirrors.
know that Pruitt knows he's there. Pruitt's concentrating on the 66 up there in front is Fittipaldi. He's run him down. He can get second place still.
Fittipaldi, you heard them say earlier they had tortured those rain tires a bit, and they were a little bit concerned, and it could be that the rain tires of Christian Fittipaldi are giving up. McDowell with another big slide over the curbing.
He's just over the top right now. He's putting it all on the edge. He's banking and gambling on getting by on this last final lap, getting by Pruitt. If he doesn't crash, he's got speed, no doubt about that. Pruitt, on the other hand, is not far from the 66.
Pruitt getting held inside where he does not want to be by that slower GT car, but McDowell has to take the same line through the slicker portion of the track.
Watch McDowell here. He's got notions. He's going to try an outside run.
This is where we saw Christian Fittipaldi so fast with the rim shot around the outside. And here comes McDowell.
But can he hold it on the line right there? It gets loose on the exit. Oh, and they bump.
Touch.
He's off the outside. He didn't get the guardrail yet. Pruitt not having any of that. He knew that was coming. That might be the move right there that keeps Pruitt in third.
I'm not sure Scott knew he was there.
Well, you can't. I can tell you when I saw him going around there that you will not get grip. You got grip, and you're faster the first part of it. Okay, here we go. This is the win.
One turn to go for Nick Janssen. He exits turn 10, has his sights set squarely on turn 11 onto the front straightaway here at Watkins Glen International. He will join some very, very familiar and famous names by winning the 6 hour here at the Glen. And he does. Nick Janssen, Tracy Crone win the Sahlen 6 hours at the Glen.
Watch his second place, though. It's going to be close. I can tell you that. Finley not. Here's the 67. There's Pruitt. He's got it, no problem.
Fittipaldi onto the front straightaway. He takes second place, then 0-1 of Scott Pruitt. That's your top 3 in Daytona prototypes. Looking back through the fog and the mist for our GT winner, Michael McDowell really put the pressure on. He could not close, but there's Wolf Hensler. He will take the GT class win for the boys at Autometric Motorsports. Lee Keen and Corey Friedman will share the champagne with Wolf Hensler when we come back. And we saw plenty of action here today. Calvin Fish is with a very happy winner.
Well, what a day for this team, the Krone Racing TRG group. Tremendous result, 1-2. Nick, talk about the battle with Christian there in the late going neck and neck.
Yeah, I mean, I know there was no problem to fight with Christian because, you know, he's all fair. I mean, teammates, obviously, but it's so hard to see when you're behind somebody. I mean, I had no idea when he was braking, where he would turn in and stuff, so I said to myself, I need to get by him somehow so I can see something. And when I finally got by, I guess I opened up a gap, and the car was, you know, great in the rain, but it wasn't that good in the dry conditions. But the car was really, really good in the wet conditions, and I can't be happier for, you know, Krone Racing TRG, and with my buddy here, Tracy, and I. It's awesome.
You look through the results there, Krone and Janssen, then Bergmeister and Fittipaldi through the rest of the top 6 in Daytona prototypes.
What a great day for the Autometrics team. And Wolf Hensler, you come on board, you won the Daytona 24, and you come back and you win a game. But a tough battle with Andy Lally this afternoon.
Yes, it's a fantastic year. first we won at Daytona, and then my second start here in the Rolex, and win again. So it was very, very good. And I must say, the automatics, the team, they did a very good stop a very good pit stop. And at the rain, it was crazy. There was nothing to see, just white. And I braked maybe 500 meters earlier than I used to, but it was crazy. And at the end, we were in the front.
It was enough. Great job by the whole team. Corey Freeman, Lee Keen, all the boys. Great win for these.
Big parties in Watkins Glen tonight. You look through the GT results. Obviously, the winners, Lally and Bunting, a good job to hold on to second. Milner, Marks, and Valentine in third. On through the rest of it. Robin Liddell, a great battle early on. You saw Wilkins and Lacey out there, also a great run. And your GT championship leaders finished back in sixth. The SunTrust biggest movers, the people who improved their position the most, the 67 winners from 17th to 1st. And in GT class, the 41 car of Joe Nonamaker and Keith Fisher, they moved up from 22nd to 9th. Another fantastic Rolex Sports Car Series race. It had everything today. It had heat, it had rain. Look what it's done to the points. A four-way tie between the boys in the 01 machine and the 10 car. And we'll do it all over again when we go to the next round. The Brumos Porsche 250 from Daytona International Speedway